applications on those Fridays. So we will get the calendar out for review here in probably another week as we look over it with the city and the county clerk, and then can take any of the additional comments on that just from you all at the next department meeting before we vote on it next month. As a reminder for the public and anyone else listening, our comprehensive plan will have several open houses here in the beginning of December. I hope you can make one of those. By December 5th or 6th, the comprehensive plan in a draft format should be available online, as well as a copy here in this office. We are going to have several public open houses at different times. The first one's going to be Monday, December 11th, 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. in this office upstairs. All the meetings will be here at this office. Tuesday, December 12th from 11 to 1 p.m. And then Saturday, December 16th from 10 to noon. We hope that gives everyone an opportunity to make one of those meetings to come and ask any questions and provide any public input on our comprehensive plan. After that meeting is where we will finalize all the comments, put it together, pretty it up a little bit with a better formatting, and get it to the city and the county end of January. Commissioners, on today's agenda, under subdivisions, we've got some withdrawals, so I'm just going to mention these. V8, Variance 8, 2023, first item there. Application of Gordon C. Jr. And the subsequent subdivision S52, 23. Which is your first subdivision on subdivision page 1. Both of those have been withdrawn by the applicant, and we do have one deferral which I'll need an action on. CZ02 2023 is being deferred another month. And that concludes my report. It's the last case under zoning. So if I could have a motion on the deferral.
Motion to defer CZ02 for one more month.
Second.
We got a motion and a property made second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Okay, motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, before Mr. Spain-Howard starts the rezoning cases, we will have a public hearing for every rezoned property that's on the agenda today. We can have up to 3 speakers in favor, 3 speakers against, a limitation of 3 minutes if you come up and speak at the podium. When we're finished and there is an opposition, there's an opportunity for the applicant to rebut, and he or she shall also be limited to 3 minutes. So our recommendations are simply that. Any case that gets from this body to the city or the county becomes legal when it's passed by the city or county bodies. So keep up with it if you want to follow the case you're interested in, and the dates for those meetings is on the agenda. So keep those dates so you can follow and go to those meetings if you'd like an opportunity to either follow the case or speak at that body about that particular case. Mr. Spain-Howard, you're on.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. Under your city zoning tab, you have your first city application. It is Z57 2023. It's the application of Mary Lou Persinger. The agent is Mr. Bert Singletary. The request is to go from AG Agricultural District to R2A Single Family Residential District, C5 Highway and Arterial Commercial District, and C2 General Commercial District. And this is for a large tract of land located at the northeast corner of the Tiny Town Road and Allen Road intersection. It's currently described as an existing farm with rolling hills, currently being row cropped with a single family resident on site. And the applicant has stated the reason for this request is the property is being zoned to commercial at Tiny Town Road as an extension of an existing zone. and then transitioning northerly to C2 and then to R2A, a residential zone to match the existing R2 on the north property line. And as stated, this does encompass just shy of 90 acres at 89.1. This is in the airport planning area. On page 2, you'll see the department comments that were received in this application. I will call your attention to the street department comments. A traffic study was required and accepted. It states to coordinate with the city on intersection improvements for that project, and roadway improvements along the frontage of Allen Road to include a 3-lane section would be required. And you'll see the school system comments there on the bottom. Page 3 of the staff report. This would be served by city services, accessible currently to Tiny Town Road and Allen Road. Historical estimates of 543 units, and the applicant's estimates of approximately 520. Staff's recommendation is for approval. The request is consistent with the adopted land use plan. The R2A single family transitions to C2 general commercial, which permits a use of mixture of residential and commercial into C5 highway and arterial commercial district along the Tiny Town Road arterial corridor. This proposal would complete a node of commercial activity at the signalized intersection while keeping with the character of the development pattern. The traffic assessment in the Clarksville Street Department has stated that improvements to Allen Road to include widening of Allen Road and sidewalks will be required as development occurs in the area, and improvements will be coordinated with the intersection improvement project. Adequate infrastructure will be required to serve the site, and no adverse environmental issues have been identified. Page 4 and 5 are two aerial zoning map overviews of the request. 6 is the zoning map overview. 7 shows that there is no official comments logged in reference to this application. And if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to try to answer them for the staff.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for a public hearing for case Z57, 2023. Is someone representing the applicant or the applicant here to speak in favor of this rezoning? Mr. Singletary, if you would advise what your address is.
Bert Singletary, 127 Centerpoint Drive, Clarksville, Tennessee. If you got any questions, I'm here to answer them if I can.
What's your plan for the R2A and C2 area?
The R2A is mainly to create a buffer with the other residential, putting residential houses there. The C2, kind of flexible right now, don't have a solid plan.
Do you have an idea of maybe how many homes you're anticipating and building on the R2A area?
No.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Singletary. Is anyone else here who'd like to speak in favor of Z57? Anyone in favor? Okay, is there anyone here who'd like to speak against the rezoning case Z57, 2023? Anyone against? Seeing no opposition, we'll close, and Commissioners, we're back into regular session.
Motion for approval as it's consistent with the adopted land use plan.
Second.
Got a motion, or properly made second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Okay, we're gonna have next a public hearing for case Z58. Is there anyone here who'd like to speak in favor of Z58?
Let me present it real
I'm
quick.
sorry.
That's okay. Z58 2023 is the application of McGregor and Holloman. The agent is John Mark Holloman. The request is to go from M1 Light Industrial District to CBD Central Business District. And this is for a parcel land located east of the Spring Street and Beaumont Street intersection. The reason for this request stated by the applicant is to bring the zoning in character with the surrounding area. It does encompass 1.35 plus or minus acres. It's an existing office building and associated parking lot. This would be an extension of the CBD zoning classification. There were no department comments of any concern, as you can see on page 9. Page 10, I will note that CBD allows for increased development opportunities and mixed use, and it also removes a potential industrial use from this parcel within the downtown core. Staff's recommendation is for approval. It's consistent with the adopted land use plan. The request is an extension of the existing CBD Central Business Zoning District and is in character with the surrounding development pattern. The proposed CBD Central Business District brings the existing office building use into compliance with zoning, and adequate infrastructure serves the site, and no adverse environmental issues have been identified as part of this request. Page 11 and 12 are aerial overviews of this request. For those that may remember, many years ago, this was the Social Security Admin Office. Page 13 is the zoning map overview, and we've received no public comments as of 4:30 yesterday afternoon. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Mr. Holloman, we're in public hearing if you'd like to speak.
Mark Holloman, I represent the family, the Holloman McGregor Family Partnership. Like I said, it was built as a Social Security building. I don't know how they got it in M1 zoning way back when, but things were different back then. And then it was used, that was for about 20 years, then 10 years used as a DA's office, Child Services Division. Then it was a healthcare, and now it's Amani Health. And so it's just a manufacturing zoning in downtown, which should be in, we're just trying to bring in compliance with the current zoning. That's all we're doing. It is currently leased. Any questions?
So the building stays.
The building stays, that pretty yellow brick.
Okay. Is there anyone else that will be speaking in favor of the rezoning? Okay, anyone here who would like to speak against Z58? Anyone against? Okay, the public hearing is closed. We're back in the regular session, Commissioners.
I make a motion for approval based on the proposed CBD Central Business District brings the existing office building into use into compliance with zoning.
Second.
Got a motion and properly made second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion passes.
Commissioners, your next application starts on page 15. It is Z59-2023, the application of Mr. Jeffrey Robinson. The agent is Cody Dahl. The request encompasses just under an acre at .91. Requested to go from R2 Single Family Residential District to R2A Single Family Residential District for a parcel of land fronting on the south frontage of Hickory Heights, approximately 310 feet west of the Hickory Heights and Walnut Drive intersection. The applicant's stated purpose for this rezoning is an infill development with projected 4 lots. Excuse me. Property is currently described as a residential lot with steep topography. Page 16, you'll see the department comments are received on this application, with the school system comments being located on the bottom. Page 17, this request would allow for increased single-family density. The historical estimates and the applicant's estimate are the same at 4 lots. Staff's recommendation is for approval. Proposed zoning request is consistent with the adopted land use plan.
Pick it up. Go cough it out somewhere. The proposed R2A single-family residential district is in character with the residential pattern in the area, and adequate infrastructure serves the site, and no adverse environmental issues were identified relative to this request. On page 18, you can see the overall zoning map of the area. Page 19, a zoomed-in version, and on page 20, the surrounding zonings with the R6 was approved by City Council a couple years ago. As of 4:30 yesterday, no public comments were received, and I'll be happy to take any questions.
Okay, we're now in public hearing for case Z59-2023. Anyone here would like to speak on behalf of this application?
Is it necessary?
Get up here. You need to be seen from time to time.
Trying to cut back on that. Jeff Robinson, be happy to answer any questions if you got any.
this is nice for me. It's non-controversial, smooth. I'm all for it.
Okay, you're
Thank
gone. We know who you are. Is there anyone else to speak in favor? Okay, anyone who would like to speak against this particular rezoning?
Yeah, my name's Glenn Eaton. I live over in that neighborhood.
Mr.
And,
Eaton, why don't you tell us what your address is?
1041 7 Mile Ferry. And I've lived in that address for 42 years, raised 5 sons there. And, in fact, I cleared that old cemetery over there, Golden Hill Cemetery, back in the 90s.
Excuse
Took
me.
care of it.
Mr. Eaton, I believe you're actually here for case Z60 2023.
Yes.
I'm John that I spoke, this is the
Oh, you
case.
wasn't supposed to call me back. I never heard back from you. Okay.
Well, I called you a couple of times, but
Have you?
the application that you're here for would be Z60 2023.
Okay, I'm sorry.
This one's on Hickory Heights, the next one's on 7 Mile Fair.
Okay, anyone that'd like to speak against Z59? Anyone against? Okay, public hearing is closed. Back in regular session, commissioners.
Make a motion for approval based on the proposal of R2A Single Family Residential District is in character with the residential development pattern in the area.
Second.
Got a motion and a properly made second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion passes.
Commissioners, your next application starts on page 22. It is Z60 2023, the application of Hunter Wynn. The request is to go from R1 Single Family Residential District to R6 Single Family Residential District. It's for a lot fronted on the west frontage of 7 Mile Ferry Road, north, approximately 250 feet north of the 7 Mile Ferry Road at Old 7 Mile Ferry Road intersection. The stated reason for this request by the applicant is to update and revitalize the lot and the area in general. This request encompasses 0.12 plus or minus acres. It would not be an extension of the zoning classification. It's currently a vacant residential lot with fill dirt currently being added. You'll see the department comments that were received in reference to this case, one of which is the requirement for sidewalks. Page 24 indicates the historical estimates of 2 lots. This would allow for that increased single-family residential density to go from 1 lot to 2 lots. Staff's recommendation is for approval. The proposed zone request is consistent with the adopted land use plan. The proposed R6 single-family residential district is in character with the residential development pattern in the area. An adequate infrastructure serves the site, and no adverse environmental issues have been identified relative to this request. Page 25 and 26 are the aerial overviews of the request. Page 27 is a zoning map overview of the request. And there's been no official public comment logged as of 4:30 yesterday afternoon. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Okay, now we're in public hearing for Z60. Mr. Eaton?
Will he be for opposed?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry, you're against. Anyone who would like to speak here in favor of Z60?
I'm Hunter Wynn. I reside at 540 Georgetown Road. Well, happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Looks like you got off easy. Thank you, Mr. Wynn. Anyone else here to speak in favor of Z60? Anyone who would like to speak against Z60? Mr. Eaton?
Thank you.
What is your address, Mr. Eaton?
1041 7 Mile Ferry. And I've lived there for 42 years. And that neighborhood, I'm sure everybody's in here is cut through there. It's a shortcut to the bypass with a blind curve coming off the bypass as you top the hill where the property he's talking about. My daughter-in-law got hit head on in that corner right there. The road is narrow. And this isn't the first time I've been up here with this. Since '06, I've been up here. This makes the 4th time. And I've got people's signature all the way up to Jimmy Organ on here from years back, and there's 10 houses in roughly 300 yards there, and it's mostly a rural setting with 3 cemeteries. Every one of the houses are single-family dwellings, single story, and it's a rural setting, and it's a peaceful neighborhood. The people that I've talked to has asked me to come up here and speak for them. They're all opposed to this. You might as well be parking trailer park down there, putting those shotgun houses in there. They just don't fit our neighborhood. And we'd like to keep it like it is. And I'm grateful to have a house tore down that needed to be tore down. But divide a little lot like that into 2 houses just don't make even common sense, where everybody there been living there 20+ years. There's, like I said, it was 300 yards, and most of that property is Greenwood Cemetery on one side. The other side is Jamie Bertree's. He's got 6 acres. And the smallest lot on the street is that particular lot. And I just can't imagine dividing it into 2 and putting 2 houses that don't fit the neighborhood. You might as well be turning it into a trailer park, the way those things look.
Mr. Eaton, we gotta bring it to a close.
That's fine, that's
Okay.
fine. I'm just, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak about it.
Thank you,
Thank you.
sir. Anyone else who would like to speak against Z60? Anyone against? Seeing no opposition, we're closing the public hearing, going back into regular session. Yeah, he does. Is he still here? Mr. Wynn, I'm sorry. Would you like a rebuttal?
I mean, the property right behind me, I know it was Bertree's that owned it. I know it's fixing to get developed. Someone's bought it, and then the property beside, 2 houses down, Mr. Atkins had bought it, and it's fixing to get developed. So I think everything's going to change a little bit right in there.
Okay. Can I speak one more time? No, sir. I'm sorry. Okay, thank you, Mr. Wynn. Okay, the public hearing is closed. Commissioners, you've heard the staff recommendation. You've heard the folks that are for and against.
Make a motion for approval based on the proposed zoning request is consistent with the adopted land use plan.
Second.
Got a motion and a properly made second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Okay. The motion passes, Mr. Easton. Eaton.
Commissioners, your next application starts on page 29. It is Z61 2023. It's the application of Eubank LLC. Michael Eubank's the agent. The agent for this application is Mr. Johnny Piper. The request is to go from M2 General Industrial District to M1 Light Industrial District. The reason for this request is for a light industrial development similar to West Dunbar Cave Road and Industrial Drive. This is for the property fronting on the south frontage of Eubank Drive, approximately 700 feet west of the Eubank Drive and Innovation Way intersection. It's currently a vacant grassland field. Would be an extension of the M1 zoning classification, and it does encompass a little over 2 acres at 2.16 plus or minus. There were no department provided on page 30. Page 31, the impact would be minimal, as this is an industrial park already. Staff's recommendation is for approval. The proposed zoning request is consistent with the adopted land use plan. The request is within a current industrial development and not out of character with the development pattern. The proposed M1 light industrial request will permit a more compact development pattern within an established industrial complex, and no adverse environmental issues have been identified. Page 32 and 33 are the aerial overviews of the request. 34 is a zoning map overview of the request, and there was been no public comments logged as of 4:30 this morning, or excuse me, 4:30 yesterday afternoon. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a public hearing on Z61. Anyone here like to speak in favor of this application? No one to speak in favor? Okay. Anyone here who would like to speak against this application? Seeing no opposition, public hearing is closed. Commissioners, we're in regular session.
Motion for approval because the request is within current industrial development and is not out of character with the development pattern.
Second.
Got a motion abruptly made second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion passes.
Commissioners, your next application starts on page 36 of the staff report. It is Z62 2023, the application of Christopher E. Doherty and others. The request is to go from R1 single-family residential and R3 three-family residential district to R4 multiple-family residential district. It's for 2 parcels fronting on the north frontage of Pollard Road, north and northwest of the Pollard Road and Quinton Drive intersection. The reason for this request stated by the applicant is to allow the applicant to be able to pull a building permit and for future development purposes. This request encompasses just shy of 3 acres at 2.98 plus or minus. On page 37 of the staff report, the street department indicated that sidewalks would be required along the frontage of Pollard Road. Page 38, this request would allow for increased multifamily residential density. Historical estimates would be for 35 total units, and staff's recommendation is for approval. The proposed zone request is consistent with the adopted land use plan. The proposed R4 multifamily residential district is not out of character with the development pattern along the Peters Mill Road corridor. The adopted land use plan states that a desirable mixture of housing types should be encouraged, and no adverse environmental issues have been identified as part of this request. 39 and 40 show an aerial overview of the request, and 41 shows a zoning map overview of the request. It's not stated in the report, but there are multiple houses, as you can see in the aerial photography, and this zoning request would go towards bringing those existing structures into compliance, but the applicant did state that they are looking at some development potential as well. So we've received no official public comment as of 4:30 yesterday afternoon, and if you have any other questions, I'll be more than happy to try to answer them.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a public hearing on case number Z62. Anyone here would like to speak on behalf of that case?
I guess I have to be seen, right? My name's Chris Doherty, 347 Pollard Road, and if you got any questions. Good?
Thank you, Mr. Doherty.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else who'd like to speak in favor? Anyone who would like to speak against Z62? Seeing no opposition, public hearing is closed. Commissioners, we're in regular session.
Motion to approve as the R4 request is not out of character with the development pattern along Peters Mill corridor.
Second.
Got a motion properly made second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed, like sign. Motion passes.
Commissioners, your next application is starts on page 43 of the staff report. It is Z63 2023, the application of Robert Holt. The agent is Bill Mace. The request is to go from AG Agricultural District to R2 Single Family Residential District. It's for a tract of land fronted on the north frontage of McClarty Road, approximately 875 feet east of the McClarty Road and Whit Lane intersection. The reason for this request stated by the applicant is they would like to get the property rezoned in order to develop single-family housing. This request encompasses just shy of 8 1/4 acres at 8.23. Page 44 of the staff report, you'll see the department comments that were received in reference to this application. Sidewalks will be required at the subdivision phase of this project. Page 45, this request will allow for increased single-family residential density for this property. Historical estimates indicates 24 lots, but there is some steep topography associated with this property, so that could be a little bit on the high side. Staff's recommendation is for approval. The proposed zoning request is consistent with the adopted land use plan. The proposed R2 single-family residential zoning classification is an extension of the established R2 zoning district to the north and west, and no adverse environmental issues have been identified as part of this request. Page 46 and 47, you'll see the aerial overview of the request. .48 is the zoning map overview of the request. And then on page 49, it references an email of someone in opposition that's provided there on page 50. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to try to answer your questions.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back in the public hearing again, this being case Z63. Robert Holt is the applicant. Is anyone here to speak on behalf of this application? Anyone in favor of this application? Do we have anyone here who'd like to speak against this application? We need your name and your address,
I'll give it to you,
please,
sir. I will gladly give it to you. My name's Adam Bridge. I live at 1390 McCarty Road. My family owns a property directly across at 1350 and 1390. I'm here to speak to y'all as owner of property and on behalf of the family. This area already consists of 3 major subdivisions. And it's being overdeveloped as it is. We've got let me go through here. The plan to add 12 more houses, which is what was on the letter that was sent out, but now it's 24 lots, or whatever lots, is another major subdivision in this area that can't really hold it. Right now there's about 200, probably around 200 houses in these 3 subdivisions with 1 exit. McCarty Road is the only exit out of this neighborhood. And that tees off up at the top of McCarty Road and goes to Amanda Drive and out to McCarty Road. McCarty Road, you can only go to the right. Amanda, you can go left or right, but it's backed up typically, especially at high traffic areas due to the light at Peters Mill and 101st, which causes backed up traffic, school buses and everything else at high traffic time. The house, the lot where this is being proposed, the house next door to it at 1333, there's a blind curve that you can't see coming up to where this neighborhood, where this proposal is at. You can't see to it. We're gonna end up with more accidents right there in front of this neighborhood. Sanitary sewer. Right now, there's no sanitary sewer anywhere on this lot. It has to be tied into privately owned property at what cost to the existing owners. The storm drainage, because this land would have to be completely regraded in order to put these lots on it. All the storm drains that come off of that property come onto mine. It erodes my property. Any trash that's in that neighborhood or blows out through there, blows down into my property. We just asked y'all tonight. Don't recommend disapproval. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I believe we had another individual who wanted to speak. So your name and address, please, sir.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Burke Ellis. I live at 1326 Whit Lane in McClarty Manor in Jackson Estates. I stand before the commission in strict opposition to the current zoning application made by Mr. Holt to change his property from agricultural to single-family residential R2. I do not know nor have any ill feelings on Mr. Holt or his family. This application, if passed, will not bring anything positive to our subdivision, but will create hardships that already exist in our overcrowded area, not limited to the ability to safely exit for the families who reside here. While I do not understand the entire zoning laws, based on what I've read regarding the R2 zoning label from the city of Clarksville and Montgomery County, this designation will be considered a medium-density residential area, which will allow a minimum of 9,000 square feet per lot. With a little over 8 acres available, there will be over 348,480 square feet to build approximately 38 single-family homes. I did not get a letter like my esteemed neighbor, because I don't live in that area. Currently, there's only one way in and out of the subdivision via McClarty Road or Amanda Drive. If you attempt to leave via Amanda Drive between 09 and 0900, or 07 and 0900, or 1400 and 1700, the traffic on Preacher's Mill in both directions does not allow a safe exit. We're all aware the current infrastructure in Montgomery County does not support further growth between roads, utilities, and emergency services, but the powers that be that continually allow more and more growth at the expense of long-established residents. McClarty Manor and Jackson Estates do not need any further building. I implore this commission to reject Robert Holt's and Bill Mace's application and forward this rejection to City Council for final disapproval. I thank you for your time and attention in this important matter.
Thank you, Mr. Ellis. Anyone else who would like to speak against this rezoning application? Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon. I'm Beverly Sullivan, and I live at 1427 McClarty Road. I've lived on McClarty Road since June of 1993, over 30 years. My husband and I have raised our 3 children in that house, and in that time I have seen McClarty Road undergo massive changes. Some have been wonderful, some not so. But in that time, many houses have been built, and people have occupied those houses and made those houses their homes. But for those driving on McClarty Road, the only change to accommodate those houses was to add a right turn only option that countless people ignore, and to add an additional road, Amanda, which gives the option for traffic to turn either left or right from McClarty to Peters Mill Road, which is a nightmare to do. McClarty Road simply cannot handle additional traffic, which is what additional housing will bring, nor can the schools in that area. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Sullivan. There was no speaker here, so there's nobody. Okay, public hearing is closed. Commissioners, we're back into regular session.
Mr. Chairman, if I just would like to clear up, there's been 3 different numbers thrown around today. The letter that went out has the applicant statement of 12 houses. Our historical estimate is 24 based on historical R2, and then the gentleman brought up 36. We use the historical estimate always because that's what we typically see in developments of R2, whether they're large or small. So while the applicant has said 12 and there is some terrain out there, we're going to go with the 24 units as probably an average of what could happen on this property. Just want to clear that up since you did hear about 3 different numbers today.
Okay, commissioners, you've heard no one speak in favor, but you heard the 3 individuals that are against this rezoning. You've heard the staff recommendation.
If, and I'm asking if they had applied for R4, what would the amount of?
R4, it's roughly 12 units per acre, so 90, 96, something like that.
So with apartments, you could have upwards of 96
It'd be, you could have 16 units per acre. Very seldom you get to that number unless you go stacked units.
And I understand there's some topography issues
yeah.
and whatever there too.
So with the R2, so what that number is a 10-year average of everything ever developed in R2 zoning. That includes things that are clustered, which doesn't, it gets closer to the maximum that the gentleman mentioned of the 9,000 square foot lots. But in this case, smaller lots, you don't get to cluster your perimeter lots. So the smaller the lot, the less likely you are to cluster. So the 24 would be pretty substantial engineering marvel to get that many on that property. They've stated 12. The answer's
Somewhere
probably
in
between 24 and 12. A lot of things that can go into this, and the individual who applied is not here to answer the question. Are they leaving the existing house? That takes potentially another 3/4 an acre out of the development potential. and then you're still not likely to get any more than one street in, and however you configure it to loop back out to get the lots on there. And then the street average obviously takes away from development potential as well. So hopefully that answers your question from,
Somewhat.
yeah.
And I know they don't want to hear it, but, I'm gonna make a motion for approval based on the R2 single-family residential zoning classification and its extension of the established R2 zoning district to the north and west.
Second.
We got a motion and a properly made second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Good, motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I know we took several phone calls in reference to this application, and one of the concerns that came up is R2 as a duplex zoning classification. No one mentioned it today in their presentation, but R2 is a single-family zoning classification. It can only be a single-family home. So if I spoke to you on the phone and provided that clarity, if not, I just wanted to state it for the record. Her next application is Z64 2023, the application of Robert Wheeler, Walter Montero, Lisa Andrews, and the agent is Bill Mace. The request is to go from R1 Single Family Residential District and O1 Office District to C2 General Commercial District. And this request encompasses 1.77 plus or minus acres. It's located on the south frontage of Madison Street, approximately 675 feet east of the Madison Street and Crossland Avenue intersection, and this parcel also has frontage on the north frontage of Crossland Avenue. The reason for the request stated by the applicant is for a retail development. It's a wooded tract with some steep varying topography. There are some low areas as well. Previous zoning for this property in 01 is Z56 2006. That originally came in as a commercial zoning classification, and they amended it to this 01. There's currently no gravity sewer on the property. A traffic assessment was required and accepted by the Clarksville Street Department. The current traffic assessment states that no access to Madison Street would be allowed under the current access ordinance, but an appeal could be applied for. And they've also asked them to establish the 100-year elevation for the property based on the low areas. Page 53, C2 allows for a mixed use of commercial and multifamily uses. Historical estimates, if it were developed with multifamily, would be 23 units. Staff's recommendation is for for disapproval. The proposed zone request is inconsistent with the adopted land use plan. The adopted land use plan indicates that the present 01 zoning classification is assumed to be correct unless the proposed zone is more consistent with the land use plan, the parcel was incorrectly zoned in the first place, or major changes of an economic, physical, or social nature were not considered in the present plan or zoning, which have substantially altered the character of the area. The current 01 office district provides an appropriate transition from single-family residential homes to the west, and it is in character with the development pattern in the area. The property is located within the residential subdistrict of the Madison Street Design Overlay District, and the property has very steep topography that encumbers the property and may impact the drainage on the property, as well as the drainage it does. If it were developed as C2, it would obviously affect the development potential as well. 54 and 55 are the aerial over images of the property. 56 is the zoning map overview of the property, and 57 references the email that's been provided to you in opposition on page 58. If you have any questions for myself or the staff, I'll be more than happy to try to answer them.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back into public hearing, this being for case Z64. Anyone here would like to speak in favor of Z64? Anyone in favor? Anyone who would like to speak against case Z64? Seeing no opposition, we'll close the public hearing, Commissioners. We're in regular session.
Make a motion for approval based off staff's recommendation.
You
Staff's
better
recommendation.
clarify your motion.
No.
Your
My apologies.
your motion is for a disapproval.
Disapproval.
Approval or disapproval?
Disapproval.
Second. Based off staff's recommendation.
We got a motion and a properly made second to disapprove Z64.
Yes.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Z64 is not approved.
Commissioners, your next application starts on page 59 of the staff report. It's our last city zoning case of the day. It is Z65 2023, the application of J&N Enterprises Incorporated. The request is to go from R2 Single Family Residential District and R2D Two Family Residential District to C2 General Commercial District and C5 Highway and Arterial Commercial District. This is for a portion of the tract of land located north of Tinytown Road, east of Andersonville Drive, and west of Egret and Sandpiper Drive. The application has stated the request by the applicant is to increase commercial area and to accommodate a large commercial customer. This request encompasses 44.5 plus or minus acres. It's currently a portion of the tract with rolling hills being row cropped. Department comments on page 60 indicate that a traffic study was required and accepted. Sidewalks would be required at the subdivision and site review phase. The main access needs to align with the previously approved roadway or drive to the south, which is across Tinytown Road, and they wish to maintain the east-west connectivity in the developments, both to the east and west. Page 61. The impact would be increased traffic, light, and noise, and the C2 classification allows for mixed-use commercial and multifamily residential use. Historical estimates in the C2 portion would be 196 units. Staff's recommendation is for approval. The proposed zoning request is consistent with the adopted land use plan. The proposed C2 General Commercial District, which permits mixed-use residential and commercial transitions into the C5 Highway and Arterial District along the Tinytown Road Arterial Corridor. The proposal will be part of a node of future commercial activity at a future signalized intersection. This request is in character with the development pattern of the Tinytown Corridor. The added depth of commercial aligns with the goal of creating nodes of commercial activity instead of strip commercialization of the entire corridor. Adequate infrastructure will be required to serve the site, and no adverse environmental issues have been identified as part of this request. Page 62 and 63 are the aerial overviews of this request. 64 is a zoning map overview of the request, and as of 4:30 yesterday afternoon, there's been no formal comment logged in reference to this application. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to try to answer them.
Okay, commissioners, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna go into public hearing for Z65. Is there anyone here who would like to speak to Z65? Mr. Weekly, we probably know your address, so.
Commissioners, Vernon Weekly, 4740. I remembered it today. I'm representing Mr. Ross in this case. If I'd appreciate your vote in it, and we don't know exactly what commercial is going on, but we're wanting to be prepared, and that's why we're requesting that today. And I'd be glad to answer any questions if there.
So you don't really have any plans, is what you're saying at this point?
I don't. But
Okay. You're just gonna be prepared. Thank you, Mr. Weekly. Anyone else to speak in favor of Z65? Anyone here would like to speak against the Z65 application? Seeing no opposition, public hearing is closed. We're in regular session. Commissioners?
I'll make a motion for approval because the proposed zoning request is consistent with the adopted land use plan. And this
Second.
definitely completes the package where we approved some single-family homes in the back and multifamily many months ago.
We got a motion or properly made second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion passes.
Commissioners, I'll give you just a second if you'll go to your county zoning tab. You have 3 county cases. First one starts on page 1 of the county staff report. It was a case deferred from last month. It is CZ 16-2023. The application is Stolitz Iron Incorporated. Cooper Pedro is the agent. The request is to go from AG Agricultural District to M1 Light Industrial District. The property is a portion of a tract fronting on the north frontage of Sale Road, approximately 2,070 feet west of the Sale Road and Guthrie Road intersection. The reason for this request stated by the applicant is this rezone request allows us to build, work, and run our family business on the same property in which we will build our home. And this request is to go from agricultural to M1 light industrial. It encompasses just over 4 acres at 4.04. It's currently a grassland area with ponds on site. Page 2 of the staff report. This is not in the Clarksville Gas and Water Service area. It is actually in the South Guthrie Water. An email was provided from South Guthrie about inadequate water supply. Essentially, there is no water infrastructure installed in this immediate area, but could be extended. Street Department or County Highway Department comments required a traffic assessment. Requested to analyze the existing road width for increased traffic due to rezoning, and provide the impacts and recommendations, if any. Page 3 of the staff report, this request would allow for the increased traffic, light, and noise, and additional potential for heavy truck traffic and increased intensity of industrial uses. Staff's recommendation is for disapproval. This proposal is inconsistent with the adopted land use plan. The proposed M1 light industrial district is out of character with the rural development, agricultural and rural residential development pattern. This is not an area indicated for industrial development on the adopted land use opinion map. The existing infrastructure to include roadways and water does not currently exist to accommodate the proposed zoning. It's also important to note that updating the infrastructure to accommodate an industrial request encourages more industrial. The adopted land use plan indicates that present AG agricultural zoning classification is assumed to be correct unless the proposed zone is more consistent with the land use plan, the parcel was incorrectly zoned in the first place, or major changes of an economic, physical, or social nature were not considered in the present plan, or there has been something to substantially alter the character of the area. Staff feels that this property is correctly zoned as AG Agricultural District currently. Page 4 is an aerial overview of the request. 5 is a zoom of the same. Page 6 is a zoning map overview of the request. You have a member of opposition that made a phone call and recorded comment back on October the 13th. And you also have a copy of it, of a letter that was submitted by the applicant, provided there on page 8 and 9. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to try to answer them.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, another public hearing, this being for county case CZ 16. Is there anyone here who'd like to speak on behalf of that rezoning request?
So my name is Chelsea Boudreau. I'm at 312 Roulemont Drive, Clarksville, Tennessee. My husband and I own the property. We are requesting for the zoning change. I know that M1 light industrial does sound aggressive for what we are trying to do. Essentially, we own a piece of property. We want to build a home for our large family and for my husband and I to continue running our family business, but instead of out of Craft Street, we would like to run it on our own property. So with that being said, if you have any questions, I'm here. Our engineer is also here if you had any questions. I'm aware that there are some engineering infrastructure issues with the water. We are going to privately address them so as that there's not any rolling M1 stuff going on. This is completely private. This is just our property. We're not trying to, you know. So do you have any questions for me? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else who would like to speak in favor of CZ 16? Okay, do we have anyone here who is opposed to case number CZ 16? Okay, public hearing is closed. Commissioners, we're in regular session.
I make a motion for disapproval. It's inconsistent with the adopted land use plan.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second properly made to disapprove CZ 16. So when you're voting to disapprove, if you agree with the motion and the second. All in favor of disapproval, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed to the motion? Okay. The CZ 16 fails.
Commissioners, your next county zoning application starts on page 10 of the staff report. It is CZ 18-2023. It's the application of Jack, Joe, and Jason Frazier. The agent is Jack Frazier and Mr. Eric Yao. The request is to go from AG Agricultural District to C5 Highway and Arterial Commercial District, and this is for a portion of the parcel located at the southeast corner of Highway 4813 and Salem Ridge Road intersection, and the southwest corner of Old Highway 48 and Salem Ridge Road intersection. The reason for this request stated by the applicant is it's a request of the existing C5 and to remove the split zone condition on the property. This request is 1.1 acres. It would be an extension of the zoning classification. The property is described as half of a single-family residential tract with a home on site, and half the tract is currently zoned C5. Page 11 of the staff report, a traffic assessment was required and received. The assessment was good, and the driveway location will be assessed further on the site plan review. Page 12 of the staff report, staff's recommendation is for approval. The proposed zoning request is consistent with the adopted land use plan. The request is an extension of the established C5 highway and arterial commercial zoning and brings the entire tract into the same zoning classification. The property fronts on an arterial highway at an existing node of commercial activity. Access to the property will be reviewed for acceptance at the site development stage. Adequate infrastructure serves the site and no adverse environmental issues have been identified. 13 and 14 are aerial overviews of the request. 15 is a zoning map overview of the request. And as of 4:30 yesterday afternoon, there's been no formal public comment logged in reference to this application. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to try to answer them.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're back into public hearing. This being for county case CZ 18. Is anyone here like to speak on that behalf?
Commissioners, Jack Frazier, 1732 Creekview Court, Adams. I'm here to answer any questions you might have regarding this, if I can.
Do you realize how sophisticated Jack looks with those glasses on?
They're prescription now.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Frazier. Is there anyone else to speak on behalf of CZ 18? Okay, is there anyone here who would like to speak against case number CZ 18? Anyone against? All right, public hearing is closed. We're in regular session.
I make a motion for approval based on the request as an extension of the established C5 highway and arterial commercial zoning and brings the entire tract into the same zoning classification.
Second.
We got a motion properly made second to approve. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed, like sign. Motion passes.
Our next and final zoning application of the day It starts on page 17 of the staff report. It is CZ 19-2023, application of Johnny Goad. The agent is Chris Blackwell. The request is to go from R1 Single Family Residential District to C5 Highway and Arterial Commercial District. This is for a parcel of land located on the southwest corner of Dover Road and Old Dover Road. The reason for this request is to propose commercial business opportunities. This request encompasses 1.88 plus or minus acres. It would be an extension of the C5 zoning classification. That would be across Highway 79 in reference. You can see it on this photograph here. Description of the property: it's a corner lot with residential and non-conforming residential structures. In addition, there is a non-conforming commercial structure there as well. Traffic assessment was required in reference to this application, as you'll see on page 18. On page 19, you'll see the staff's recommendation for disapproval. The proposed zone request is inconsistent with the adopted land use plan. The existing commercial operation is a legal non-conforming use and can continue to under the present zoning classification. The proposed C5 highway and arterial request encompasses existing residential structures and creates the opportunity to expand commercial uses south of Highway 79 in an area predominantly single-family residential, and that's specific to the south frontage of 79. While the level of service of the traffic assessment is acceptable, this area of Highway 79 that rapidly transitioned from 65, 55 to 45 miles per hour, that's from the west, and has multiple conflicting traffic movements where multiple connections are compressed in a curve of a 5-lane highway. Expanding commercial uses in this area will create additional conflicting movements. Future commercial zones and use opportunities for this area would be best located between State Route 374 interchange and the immediate surrounding Highway 79 and Liberty Church Road traffic signal where safer access to Highway 79 is located. No adverse environmental issues have been identified as part of this request. Page 20 and 21 show the aerial overviews of the request. 22 is the zoning map overview of the request. And as of 4:30 yesterday afternoon, there's been no formal public comment logged in reference to this application. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to try to answer them.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question, if that's okay. How many homes could go there if it was stayed as R1? I apologize.
1.8 acres.
It'd be roughly 90-foot wide lot.
I'm sorry.
Wouldn't sewer be a bigger issue, John, more than the lot size?
There's sewer across the street, so I mean, it's probably unlikely for a small number of houses they would expand them, so you'd be looking at a 20,000 minimum lot size, and then you'd have to factor in how many driveway connections that they may or may not be given to Highway 79. So that's a very fluid number until we run that out there. Feel pretty comfortable saying 4, probably right now. Now there's already appears to be 2 on the property. So
What's directly across the street?
Directly across the street is a Dollar General store.
Mr. Spain Howard, on my puzzle here, I'm trying to figure out the C5 from the R1, and you've got a big piece of property that I'm assuming is that still R1 that would be kind of to the south and to the west anyway?
Yeah. It's here on this one.
Yeah.
All the yellow.
Pretty much everything on the south side of that road in the immediate area is R1.
Okay.
There is a small section of R3.
You got C5 already.
So,
And that C5 would be kind of in that island between Woodlawn and Dover, right there, that piece, that little triangle piece at the end.
Well, there's a road there on
Yeah,
the
there
side of
is.
this property. There's Old Dover
Yeah,
Road.
there's
right,
a
exactly.
dual frontage.
Property.
Trying to see where all the C5 and everything is. Okay, thank you.
So you've got some immediate C5 right there, one of which is a single-family house that has inquired about rezoning.
Okay.
What we've run into in this immediate area is where it's at in the growth plan. There are individuals who want to take some of the commercial property along the old frontage, and their lot sizes are not at a
Not allowing.
point that they can get to an E1 zoning classification, so they're kind of stuck. And then that old frontage Woodlawn Road is the old Highway 79.
Sure.
So there was a lot of, when zoning went into place, there was a lot of blanket C5 zoning that was applied, of which an existing commercial store, they did not put it on at that point in time.
Where was the post office in this area right here?
It would be substantially further to the west.
West, okay.
Yeah.
I apologize, I'm not sure if I got the answer to the question.
Total number, so there's several factors. I'd have to know how many driveways can be approved and where they could be approved. Whether or not they gain sewer access or not. So if you don't have sewer, you have to have a 20,000 square foot minimum lot size. So right now, I think the number I would feel comfortable saying would be 4. But there are other factors they could do to increase that number. If they were granted additional driveways, there are some topography issues that may show up in the photographs. The road is quite a bit higher than the established elevation of where properties are currently at. As you can see, it shows up a little bit in this property. You don't see the bottom half of that building. And then the home that's on the left side of this photo is actually part of the request. That's actually, they're requesting to change that to C5. Go back to that photo you just had. See you lose part of the trucks, so they're.
But that used to be a business on the corner.
It is, and it's still a business.
It was a store at one point, many years ago.
I believe it was called Dino's Grocery.
30-plus years ago, yeah.
And it can still operate as it is today under a legal non-conforming status and doesn't require the zone to change.
I just look at this map y'all provided though, and it shows, I know that some of that was blanket C5, but there's a lot of C5 south of that road. I know there's some across the way too, but I would say that going C5 would bring that lot into conformity technically, since it has a business operating on it.
But also it's got more single-family homes on it than it does commercial businesses. So
How many single-family homes are on
I
it?
think there's 2. Is there? Yes.
I know of the one that faces Old Dover Road.
Very unique piece of property.
The only reason I know that is because I spent my summers riding up and down that Old Dover Road, because my aunt and uncle live on the property right behind this one.
1, 2, 3.
That's why it's just, I know the business was there, but I don't know if anybody lives in that other little house over there.
Am I correct in my assumption there's already 3 driveways connecting to it?
Looks like it.
3 on Dover Road,
Dover
and
Road.
1 on Old Dover.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was just referring
Oh.
specifically to the Dover Road.
Should we go on into public hearing?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Is that all questions? Okay. Public hearing for CZ 19. Anyone here who would like to speak in favor of that particular case?
My name's Thomas Hawkins. I work for Chris Blackwell, 184 Industrial Drive, or my address, is 3008 Edgemont Drive. Our intentions for the property to improve their overall look. There's multiple buildings there. All that would be removed and give it a one entrance type deal for a commercial business opportunity. Similar to what we have over on Industrial Drive with, right now we have a daycare in there.
On Industrial Drive?
Yes.
Oh, Market Drive, okay.
Yeah.
The new white building that's just been built there?
I'm sorry?
The new white building? that's been
No,
built?
no, sir. Over, close to our office on Industrial, it's actually on Industrial Drive. We bought another building down there that it's a special needs type where they rented it from us and they run a daycare out of there. We're trying to give that type of opportunity in that area, decreasing the actual numbers of outlets to the already busy Dover Road.
So you're
We think it is quite well fit for that.
Single tenant or multi-tenant?
Depending where, we're not quite to that stage yet, but I couldn't see over a couple, is the intention.
So your intention is to have one cut off of Dover Road and then T to
Yes,
the
sir.
right or left for the
Into the
two
buildings. Yes, sir. Whatever our engineer can come up with.
Okay, if there are no more questions, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here who will speak to CZ 19 in favor?
Yes, Cal McKay, 1545 Madison Street. Just to answer a couple of questions. The plan is to connect the sewer over on the other side of Dover Road. The layout we've done has been for, I think it's still flexible, but he has an existing building that has some office and like some attached storage or garage, and it's a two-tenant building. We can get two on there and maybe a third one. Probably a driveway off Dover Road and probably a driveway off of Old Dover Road. In our traffic study, I think the level of services are out there were A and B, either pre-existing and post-development.
Do you have to plump across there?
Yes.
You'd have to get state approval ultimately for the cuts.
Local and state, yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, any more questions for Mr. McKay? Anyone else that'd like to speak regarding CZ 19, in favor of CZ 19? All right, opposition. Do we have any opposition to this rezoning request? Seeing no opposition, public hearing is closed.
I make a motion for approval that it is not out of character with the surrounding development and will potentially reduce the number of movement in and out of the property. Or the connection points. I apologize.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion, a properly made second to approve CZ 19. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Okay, CZ 19 passes.
All right, commissioners, while Brad's making his way up here, if you would open up your subdivision tab on your iPads. Mr. Chairman, we do have 2 variances today and then only 2 subdivisions off those variances. So if we hear both variances first, we can probably just do a consent agenda when those are done without objection.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. We'll jump into the variance portion of our subdivision tab. Our first case is case number V9 2023. The applicant is Chris Travis. The variance request for East Evans Road Extension right-of-way dedication. Property is currently zoned Ag and is located west of and adjacent to the current terminus of East Evans Road in the rural portion of the growth plan area. The request by the applicant for 2 variances. The first is to 4.19 subsection 1 of the subdivision regulations, and which is a portion of that in table 4.1. The length of a cul-de-sac measured from the center line of the intersecting street, road, or permanent easement to the center of the turnaround shall not be shorter than 150 feet or longer than indicated in table 4.1. For cul-de-sacs 1,000 feet or longer, a permanent intermediate turnaround located between, at, or near the midway point with a right-of-way radius of not less than 50 feet and a pavement radius of not less than 45 feet. Table 4.1 indicates a maximum of 750 feet. The second variance is 4.19 subsection 2. If a variance is granted for a cul-de-sac to exceed 1,000 feet, an intermediate turnaround is required and shall meet the requirements of 4.191 above. Basically, the request is to extend East Evans Road by 280 feet for a total length of approximately 2,454 feet and to not provide an intermediate turnaround. Department comments are listed on the following page. No concerns, no major concerns were indicated. The next page is your aerial overview of the site. Variance exhibits on page 4, followed by page 5 being the preliminary plat that's been submitted. Page 6 is the variance application sheet provided by the applicant, and page 7 and 8 is the variance review sheet provided by the staff. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to try and answer those. Otherwise, we will need a public hearing. Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna have a public hearing on the 2 variances that were requested for a single property. Does anyone here like to speak in favor of the variance V9/2023 Evans Road right-of-way?
Howdy. I'm Brad Weekly, 108 Centerpoint Drive. This is an existing road that well exceeds the 750 foot with no cul-de-sac on it currently. So what's proposed is a small extension to provide road frontage for a parcel or 2 parcels there that currently don't have it, and as well as provide a cul-de-sac for the road. So that small extension sort of triggers for this larger variance of a road that already exceeds that. And then the second variance for an intermediate cul-de-sac, this is a 30-foot right-of-way road, so there's no room to place in an intermediate cul-de-sac. If you have any questions for me, feel free to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Weekly.
Thank you.
Is anyone else to speak in favor of V9, variance V9?
Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Chris Travis, 4795 East Evans Road. Just wanted to kind of let you know what the plan is. I bought that current, where we live now, it's 28-acre tract roughly. Built our home there in about 2014 and don't have any road frontage, only have a deeded easement to get to it across my neighbor. Recently acquired another 25-acre tract that joins me and would like to be able to, for my son to build a house there if he chooses. And so when we started exploring what our options were, we found basically the only option is to extend the road. So that's our plan, is just to be able to kind of get my son on the family property there if we can make that happen. So I appreciate your considering it, and if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
Does your son know what you've got planned?
He does.
Yeah, he does. Okay.
He does. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Anyone else like to speak in favor of V9, case number V9? Anyone who would like to speak against this variance, V9/2023? Public hearing is closed. We're in regular session, Commissioners.
I make a motion for approval, as the variances would actually, one, it would help the property owner, but it would also help public safety with turnaround spot at the end of this narrow road. So I'd make a motion based on that.
Second.
Okay, the motion is for the 2. Both of them. Yeah, both.
Both variances, yes,
both
sir.
Variances, okay. Got a motion and properly made second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Okay, variances passed.
All right, Mr. Chairman and Commission, we have 2 subdivision cases today. We will consider them together as a consent agenda. I got to read this statement. All items in this portion of the agenda are considered to be routine and non-controversial by the staff and the Regional Planning Commission and may be approved by one motion. However, a member of the audience, the commission, or staff may request that an item be removed for separate consideration. In other words, we are recommending approval of both subdivisions, and we'll read those into the record here in a minute. Anyone here want to discuss either of these cases independently? Let us know. All right. Mr. Parker, if you'd read both cases into the record with the conditions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tyndall. Case number S74/2023, applicant Chris Travis. Subdivision is East Evans Road Extension right-of-way dedication is the preliminary plat. Acreage is .36 plus or minus acres. Ag zoning with 0 lots proposed. The recommendation is for preliminary plat approval subject to the 3 conditions listed. Next case is case number S75. The applicant's Oak Street LLC for revised preliminary plat of Journey Estates Section 2, 13.26 plus or minus acres, R3 zoning, 52 lots. The property is located north of and adjacent to the current terminus of Plum Street, located within the city, and the recommendation is for preliminary plat subject to the 4 conditions listed. Thank you, Commissioners.
Okay, Commissioners, we're gonna do this on a consent agenda to approve S-74 and S-75.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Got a motion properly made second to approve S-74 and S-75. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Okay, motion passes.
All right, Commissioners, if you'll open up your site plan review tab on your tablets. Looks like we've got 7 cases here today. Can we do the abandonment?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. One's an abandonment. So we have 7 cases. Ms. Russell will read them into the record. Again, all items in this portion of the agenda are routine and non-controversial by the staff and the Regional Planning Commission and may be approved by one motion. However, a member of the audience, commission, or staff may request that an item be removed for separate consideration. Ms. Russell will read the recommendation. They're either for approval or deferral of these cases. Anyone in the audience need to discuss any of these cases individually? All right, seeing none, Ms. Russell, would you please read the recommendations into the record?
SR-50-2023 office building, we recommend approval with the condition listed. SR-51-2023 office warehouse, we recommend approval with the conditions listed. SR-52-2023, the PUD for Walker Farms, the site plan for Walker Farms final PUD. We recommend approval with the conditions listed. SR-55
53.
Oh, I missed a page. SR-53-2023, Curious Panda Academy. We recommend approval with the conditions listed. SR-54-2023, automobile repair. We recommend approval with the conditions listed. And then SR-55-2023, Exit 8 condos, multifamily. We're recommending a month's deferral. And then AB-9-2023, abandonment for the city of Clarksville. We recommend approval subject to the following conditions.
Yeah, we can defer because it was mentioned as a deferral.
Okay, Commissioners, we've got 7 cases here on the consent agenda. Is there anyone here who wants to speak to any of these cases on the consent agenda? Okay, we've got a consent agenda for 4 individual site reviews.
1 deferral.
And 1 deferral, 6 cases. Yeah, and a deferral and an abandonment. Do I hear a motion?
So, motion for approval.
Second.
Got a motion properly made second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign.
All right, and if you'll go over to the other business tab on your tablets. The first item is the monthly profit and loss statement. I'll be happy to answer any questions, but appreciate approval on that.
Do I hear a motion to approve the P&L?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion properly made second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign.
Okay, Commissioners, your next item up is a plan of service for annexation A4 2023, north of Garrettsburg Road at Clyde Court. It's a small, little over 11-acre annexation, touches the current city limits, is within the urban growth boundary. Potential there around 50 units. It is requesting a rezone from R1, R1 and RM2, which is not even a zone allowed in the city, to R2A for small single-family lots. No real comments from the other departments. Police with their hiring, as usual, The additional population needs more police officers. CDE will have to expend some funds in extending lines up there. And CTS has recently reduced their service in this area, but there is a bus stop within a half mile of this site on the Cunningham Loop. And Parks and Rec mentioned a lack of green space in this ward already of about 94.7 acres. We do need a public hearing on this before we send this forward to City Council.
Okay, we're gonna have a public hearing for the Plan of Service A4 2023.
I've got one question about it. So the plan of service, we've done these before, but I don't remember there being like a zoning request rolled into the plan of service. Can you
Okay.
help me understand that?
Sure. So in the state of Tennessee, when you annex, annexing is now done via a resolution, which is one hearing at the city council. When you bring something into the city limits, you have one opportunity to, quote, get it right. You're allowed to change the zone one time as you bring it into the city limits. Every other zoning change from here on would normally be through the normal process like we had earlier today. I'd say about half the half the annexations we have do have some form of a zoning change with it, whether it's a portion of the property or all the property. This is one where the current zoning doesn't match what they want to do. They're asking for it. Staff does discuss this before it goes public, and they don't see a problem with it. So it will be attached to it. 30 days after it's annexed, the zoning map will be updated with the new zone.
Okay. Is there a public hearing for it as well?
The public hearing is part of the annexation process. So here we have a public hearing on the plan of service. At City Council, they will have a public hearing on both the plan of service and the actual annexation prior to adopting it.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure thing.
Okay, we're having a public hearing on the Plan of Service A4 2023. Is there anyone here who would like to speak about the Plan of Service? Didn't think we would see any. Public hearing is closed. Commissioners, we need a motion.
A motion to approve.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Got a motion and properly made second to approve the plan of service. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign.
Without objection from the commission, we'll take the plan of service progress reports for A1 2021, A2 2021, A1 2022, and A1 2023. Again, this is a formality before we send this to City Council. We have to have a public hearing on this. So within 6 months to a year of an annexation being complete, you have to do a plan of service follow-up. During COVID, I think we missed a few. So this is playing catch up from the 2021 ones, and then the 22 and 23 will keep them on schedule. So they're simple resolutions. What happens is after 6 months, I'll reach back out to any of the departments that had comments in the original plan of service. I'll say, have you satisfied it? In other words, is there water, electricity? Are you providing fire and police service? These basically say that each of these resolutions attached say that the services are being provided as promised, and we basically close out the annexation and make it whole. So we do have to have a public hearing on this, but I think we can open it up for the floor for all four of them combined. I don't think anyone's here either.
No. Well, I'll make it formal here.
That's right.
We're gonna have a public hearing for the plan of service progress reports A1 2021 and A2 2021.
And A1
2022 and A1 2023. So anyone here who would like to speak about any of those plan of service deals? Nobody wants to talk. Public hearing is over. Commissioners, need a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Got a motion properly made second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. All right, motion is
All
approved.
right. Before I conclude my report, just for people here and the commissioners, our December Planning Commission meeting will take place, should have wrote this down ahead of time, a little different due to the holiday schedule.
21st.
Yes, we will be meeting the 21st, which is a Thursday at 2 p.m. for the regular business. The informal session will be at noon that day. Commissioners, we'll get you some holiday lunch that day, and we'll go back to back with those meetings. The city council meeting will continue on the 28th as originally planned.
Have you ever thought about contacting Judy about bringing us some fudge again, even though she doesn't work here anymore?
Is that in the form of a motion? And pecan pies?
I think you'll
That's
get a
not on
second.
We might be able to swing something. I'll see what we can do.
I think she's been dropping it off, and Brad's just gonna keep it.
Well, that concludes my report, Chairman.
Okay, we've got we've got an opportunity. I don't think there's anybody here, but we've got an opportunity to have a public comment period here. If anybody wants to speak about something that was not on today's agenda. Anybody's got something you want to get off your chest that wasn't on today's agenda?
McKay, you got something?
He'll wait till next time.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.